The Hobble skirt, designed by the French visionary couturier Paul Poiret in 1910, became one of the most memorable, if controversial, fashion statements of the Edwardian era. This garment, with its impossibly narrow hemline, did more than just change the way women dressed. It turned their very movements into a public spectacle. As the name suggests, the hobble skirt restricted a woman's stride so severely that walking became a delicate balancing act, almost akin to a slow, restrained shuffle. It's as if Poiret, with a mischievous glint in his eye, decided to literally tie the legs of fashion-forward women together, leaving them to hobble about like Victorian ladies in a three-legged race. But why would anyone willingly don such a restrictive garment? That's the real question. Well, to answer that, the answer lies partly in the zeitgeist of the time. The hobble skirt emerged during the suffragette movement, and that was a time when women were vigorously fighting for their rights and quite literally their freedom of movement. Some speculate that Poiret's design was a satirical commentary on the patriarchy's attempt to limit women's progress, a sartorial ball and chain, if you will, to keep them from marching too quickly to emancipation. Whether Poiret intended this or not, the irony wasn't lost on the public. Newspapers and magazines had a field day with the hobble skirt, with cartoons, poems, and satirical articles portraying it as the fashion's equivalent of a medieval torture device. Take, for instance, the satirical verses published in this here magazines. They depicted husbands chuckling at their wives' inability to storm off in a huff while wearing a hobble skirt. One could almost hear the collective sigh of patriarchal relief as women exchanged their once free-flowing skirts for something that physically restricted them. This fashion choice, which many saw as both absurd and delightful, became a symbol of the tension between the avant-garde fashion world and the burgeoning women's rights movement. While some women embraced the hobble skirt as a bold fashion statement, others criticized it as yet another form of social restraint, both literally and metaphorically. Yet, the hobble skirt wasn't just a piece of clothing, it was an artistic canvas. Poiret, always the showman, ensured that despite its impracticality, the hobble skirt was a feast for the eyes. The skirt often featured intricate pleats, draping, and many elaborate trimmings, turning its wearer into a walking work of art, albeit one with a somewhat restricted gait. But fashion magazines of the time showcased these designs with enthusiasm, and soon enough, the hobble skirt became a staple of high society wardrobes. Though its reign was relatively short-lived, it only lasted about 7 years before women collectively decided that they preferred to move a bit more freely. But in retrospect, the hobble skirt serves as a fascinating case study for fashion historians. It highlights the paradox of women's fashion in the Edwardian era, a time when clothing was used to both celebrate and constrain the female form. It also underscores the complex relationship between style, functionality, and social norms. The hobble skirt may have been a joke to some, but it was also a symbol of the era's broader cultural dynamics, illustrating how fashion could be both a form of self-expression and a tool for social commentary. As we look back on this peculiar fashion trend, one can't help but wonder, was the hobble skirt a step forward in fashion, or a fashionable step backwards in the fight for women's freedom? Perhaps it was a bit of both, a fashionable paradox that continues to intrigue and amuse us today.